So I want to come on here. I wanted to talk about this busy Sunday, but here I am. So the big news of the day, right? Even mainstream media was covering it, right? Now there's a reason they covered it, and I'll say that in a moment. But the North Dakota Access Pipeline has the construction of it has been completely halted, right? Completely halted, right? No permit has been granted by President Barack Obama, right, to continue the Access Pipeline, which is good. That is good news. It's the right decision. It's the obvious decision, right? So credit where credit's due, right? I mean, better late than never, but hey, credit where credit is due, right? Now, a couple things I have to say about this. First, the good news. Obviously, it's good that they've halted this project. These pipelines, just for those that don't know, all they are, okay, they're just for big oil, okay, by the way, these pipelines are killing jobs, right? A lot of truck drivers are losing jobs because of these pipelines. That's number one. It's a job killer, right? And by the way, having truck drivers safely, move the oil is, that speaks for itself. It's safer than these pipelines, right? The ones that are working, even the politicians, okay, that are pushing for this pipeline, keep using language like, oh, it's very unlikely that the pipeline can leak or burst. They're very safe. It's very unlikely, right? Now, in a matter of a year, 10 years, 20 years, right? If something has a 1% chance of happening, and stay with chance, and I don't know why you would take a chance. I don't care if it's 1% with people's water, right? I don't understand why you would take that chance whatsoever. Plus, it is not true that it's very minimal that it can happen. All right, these pipelines leak all the time. There was a pipeline not that long ago, right, that leaked over in Pennsylvania from the same company that's building this one, right? But let's just leave that aside for now. They could take their L for the moment because they definitely took their L, right? Now, I'm looking right now. Obama is getting praise for this, right? And like I said at the beginning, I did say credit where credit is due, better late than never, right? So give him credit. If he would have granted the permit for this, I mean, boy, I have no idea how much worse shit would have been, right? So it's very good. Now, make no mistake about it, all right? People would be delusional to think that if these protests were not going on, right? If the protesters were not out there taking it from police, water cannons and stun grenades and attack dogs and all this other shit, crazy stuff, right? Rubber bullets. If these protesters were not doing that, I have a hard time believing that Obama, who could have stopped this a long time ago, I don't care what anybody tells you, he could have stopped this shit a long time ago, right? I just don't believe he would have prevented this from happening. I just don't. He hasn't stopped all the other pipelines from happening. This one is it just started getting a lot of attention, right? Now, one of the reasons that it started getting a lot of press attention was because about 2,000, a mixture of veterans, all right, and a few police officers got together, right, and they traveled over to North Dakota, right, and they knew it would be a PR nightmare if they started doing that to veterans, right? They knew it was going to be a complete PR nightmare. As far as the media, they didn't cover it. When it was the natives, they didn't give a shit. They were not covering it. The media, the mainstream media, was not telling the truth, right? And the reason I criticize the president is because Even though there was video evidence of this stuff going on, he did not come out and he did not say anything, just in a manner that attention, right? That this must stop. He never demanded that this should stop, right? It was always a passive aggressive. He was just so passive about it, right? So that was my big gripe with it. So it's been stopped. That's good. I'm happy for that, right? We're going to talk about what's going to happen because Obama's out of office in 7 weeks. For those that don't know, right? 7 more weeks is out. But in the meantime, they're going to try and see if they can reroute this pipeline. Look, these pipelines, aside from being a job killer, right, they don't benefit anybody. For those that are misinformed, these pipelines are not for our use to be energy independent. It's for these oil companies can have, they can, in the long term, cut the amount of money they spent to transport the oil. They're going to export this shit, right? That's what they're doing with the oil. They're going to sell it in foreign markets. They're not going to sell it here. So those that think, oh, this is to be energy independent, it's not true. It's not true, right? It's not. So these pipelines don't benefit anybody. They're for a couple of billionaires could, put more money in their pocket along with their investors. We're going to be talking about investors in a moment. Speaking of the president-elect, but just for a couple billionaires could save money on transportation of this, of the oil. It's just not worth all this hassle. It's not worth using the land of the people, right, to create these pipelines. It's not worth the contamination of our water. It is not worth that. If water is not worth fighting for, what the fuck is? Can somebody answer? If there's one thing that I don't care how much people hate each other and all this other nonsense, if water is not worth fighting for, I have no fucking clue what is. It's up there with oxygen and water. I don't know what's more important to fight for. All right? And I don't care if it's a 1% chance that shit leaks into the water. No, how about no chance? How about you take these pipelines and stick them up where the sun don't shine? How about that? Now, so good for Obama, right? He stopped this Access pipeline. Now, it's funny, but I keep all the praise that Obama's getting. Oh, Obama! His expertise in law really kicked in here, and he managed, to make sure this pipeline wasn't built. It doesn't take a genius here, right? This shit's been going on, at least from what we know. It's been in the news or in independent media anyway, right? Since August, they've been doing it. Since August, right? Since August, this shit's been going on. Since August, people have been attacked. Since August, September, October, November, and now the beginning of December. The governor of North Dakota is a fucking liar. He was caught lying red-handed. Red-handed. Saying that there was no water cannons, even though there's video evidence of water cannons. Saying the protesters the reason they were spraying water because the protesters were starting fires. Even though the fires, right, that was from, it was actually the police that started the fires, right? Saying, no, we're not using tear gas. They were using tear gas. Saying they weren't spraying the water on people. Yes, they were. Saying they weren't targeting people with rubber bullets. Well, they sure at people. For not aiming at people, they sure as hell hit a lot of people in the face, right? For not aiming at people, they sure managed to get mace in the face of people. I just saw a picture of a Native woman, half of her face covered in red, right? The after effect, the burn from one of the stun grenades. These are human rights violations against people in this country. Civil rights violations were occurring by state authorities on Army Corps land. And let me take this a step further, right? Let me just take this a step further for those that are giving Obama all the praise in the world because he's such a genius that just figured this out, right? In 1851, there was a treaty of Fort Laramie. I don't know how you pronounce that. But this treaty, which doesn't, I mean, a lot of people are going to take this and say, well, look, the U.S. always breaks treaties with natives, and that's true, right? According to this treaty, what those police were doing was in direct violation of the treaty. Period. So whether, like, in other words, it's actually not up to the authority of the President of the United States to say, no, I'm not going to give you a permit to build here. No. You actually have to ask the Sioux Nation for permission if you could build there, not the President of the United States. That's number one. Now, does that mean that I'm going to say, well, therefore, the President should have done shit? No. Like I said, give him credit where credit's due. This was in direct violation to the very treaty that was agreed upon in 1851. Direct violation. I know this, and I'm nobody. The President of the United States, Barack Obama, this is his job. He is surrounded, he couldn't get a group of lawyers like this, right? All he has to do is pick up the phone, or not even pick up the phone. He can tell somebody to pick up the phone and say, I want you to call right now. I want you to get some lawyers on this case. I know there's a treaty about this. We got to make sure that they're not building anything in Standing Rock. He could have done that shit ASAP without a problem. He could have easily done that. He just wanted the shit to go under the radar. That's all it was. And the protesters and people that spoke loudly about this did not let it go under the radar. Right? We just got to call it for what it is. Now, yes, is he facing criticism for this? Of course. I mean, right now you have Republicans in the White House, or not, I'm sorry, not the White House, over there in D.C. You have Republicans shouting to the rooftops, Obama let protesters and lawless people win. I mean, of course, these bought-out pieces of shit politicians, who, by the way, are both in the Republican and Democratic side when it comes to big oil. They just are, right? Of course they're upset that this pipeline's not happening. They're speaking for Daddy, right? Daddy, who helps them super PACs in the whole nine, right? And 2 years from now, they got to support Daddy. Daddy Oil tells them what's up, right? Daddy Oil's telling them, hey, what the fuck? They stopped the pipeline. If you don't do something, if you don't voice out about this, if you don't find a way to make sure this pipeline gets built, we're not going to fund your next campaign. We're going to get somebody. If you don't do it, we're going to get somebody that will. We'll get a Republican in the primaries to get your ass out of there. A lot of people are invested in this, folks. A lot of people are invested in this pipeline. It's unbelievable that this is oil versus water and land. You know? And people are protesting, saying, look, don't build in our land. Don't build in our holy sites. Don't build under the water through the Mississippi River. Don't do that. Don't contaminate our water. Stop that. No. I'm a bought-out politician. Big oil pays, bought me off already. All right, I'm a big oil robot. Obama is letting the lawlessness win, lose, blah, blah, blah. Fuck those guys, right? Of course they're going to come out and say that. That doesn't shock me. Doesn't shock me at all. A lot of Democrats, shh. funny. It's not even like he said, "Oh, we're going to stop this pipeline." That's it. Cut off the fucking pipe. No. It's all right. Fine. Fuck. I guess we'll find another way to do it. Right. Whatever. I guess we'll go around you or some shit. That's what it is. I'm hearing people say things like, "Why don't the natives just take the money and shut up? You know, they need money anyway. Just let them run the fucking pipeline down your sacred lands and just take the money. What's the big deal?" Fuck those people too, right? Fuck them. Because not everybody has a price. That shocks people sometimes. When somebody doesn't have a price, it shocks them. Like, oh, really? Like you actually stand for something. Like when you believe that this is a sacred land, you actually believe it. It's not like there's not a price that will make you not believe that. Now let's talk about Donald Trump. This is nothing here, all right? Look, let me make this clear. If Obama signed his permit, this shit was going to get built. Period. Right? Now that he didn't sign a permit, he set things into motion that's going to make it very difficult for Trump to do it, but it's not impossible. First of all, Trump has already come out and said that he's in favor of the pipeline. Not a surprise. Trump actually has investments in this pipeline. Now, for a guy that's supposedly worth $10 billion, I would think he could maybe take the L with those $2 million that he has invested with a company that's involved in this. But hey, maybe he's not really worth $10 billion, you know. But here's the thing. I mean, this guy was ripping people off for $30,000 a pop at Trump University. You don't think $2 million matters to him? Of course, right? So there is a conflict of interest there. He has motive and reason to make sure this pipeline gets built, and many other pipelines, by the way. And he's already said he'll do it. Plus, many involved with this pipeline actually donated to his campaign. So he owes them favors. You know, although I heard a lot that Trump's not going to be, you know, not going to owe anybody anything. He's a billionaire. He's not going to be bought out by anybody. We're about to find out. I think it's all bullshit, but, you know, we'll find out. There's no doubt in my mind that unless before he goes into office, plus the time that he does other things, all right, unless they find a way to reroute this pipeline somewhere else before that, if nothing's been rerouted, there's no doubt in my mind that the Trump the Trump team are going to try to build this pipeline forcefully. They're going to completely disregard the treaty, the 1851 treaty. They're going to completely disregard it. It's not going to matter. And they're going to just get this pipeline built, or attempt to. But here's the good news, right? Just to close this out, here's the good news. You see, with President Obama, when he was doing from August all the way to now, until finally he said, okay, no permit granted, right? When he wasn't doing nothing about it, the right wing wants this pipeline. They're going to protest this pipeline, right? Even though they should be, for reasons I mentioned. It's a job killer. It's not really for energy independence, right? You know, there's reasons that they could be against this pipelines in general, right? But a lot of people on the left didn't give a shit about the Native Americans. They were getting mad about other stupid shit. Irrelevant shit. Okay? Going to the little safe spaces, worrying about dumb shit, about words and things people are saying. Right? They were too busy being politically correct over there. They just stopped, they kept justifying it. No, our dear leader, Barack Obama, he'll do the right thing. And ultimately, better late than never, he did, right? Although if he would have set shit in motion all the way back in August, by now they would have rerouted the whole thing, and we don't have to worry about what Trump's going to do. We wouldn't have to worry about it. But their dear leader, Barack Obama, right? They're not going to protest him. The left was not going to. Many in the left did just refuse to call out Obama on anything. This was a situation where he was dead wrong. This was a situation where he acted, late, but at least he did it. Better late than never. Now, with Trump in power, the left hates Trump, right? So if they try to build, like I'll tell you right now, if this was under a Trump presidency, the police shooting water cannons and pepper spraying the natives and doing all this crazy shit, tear gas, right? Man, the left would have been so against it from jump, right? They would be out there in fucking droves. So now that Obama, right? So politically looking at this, not sign off on the permit, at the very least, now a lot of these zombies in the left will wake up and realize, holy shit, there's some fucked up shit going on. Okay? And they'll go ahead and try and do something about what's going on over there if they try and build this pipeline and force the pipeline through. So, I don't know, man. A lot of times, if Barack doesn't do something, just a lot of people on the left are just zombies. They refuse to acknowledge that, hey, the president isn't doing anything about this. The president is always right. He's our dear leader. So anyway, I'm out.